Hello, hello, hello. Let's see if all of my platforms are live. Make sure I got my microphone. I'm notorious for not having that going. Okay, I think we got TikTok live. There we go. And there goes my Instagram. Okay, perfect. Okay, are we live on all platforms? Yes, yes, we are. I just can't see all the comments. Let me move some stuff around. Hello, everybody. Interesting. Okay, so this one, interesting. Okay. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to my Wednesday night live. I was supposed to go live last night, but my computer crashed. And so I said, you know what? That's a sign. That's a sign for rest and rejuvenation. I hope wherever you guys are, that you are having an amazing week. It's midweek, it's Wednesday. So I hope that your week is off to a great start. I hope that you got sunshine because it's been raining a lot here in Houston. And I hope that wherever you are, that the sun is out. People who know me know that I love sunshine. So when it's rainy, it just works my nerve. But to everybody, hello, TikTok. Oh, I see you got your tickets for London. Yes, ma'am. Hello, Instagram. Hello, TDF fam in the building. Good to see you guys. So we're going to do our live Q&A tonight. If this is your first time joining and you've never done a live Q&A with me before, welcome, welcome, welcome. I try to go live once a week, but things happen. It's been raining in San Antonio. Yes, we even had tornado watches go off earlier. So the weather has been crazy. Hello to my Daily Fix fam. I'm happy that you guys are here. So we will do our live Q&A. Hey, Mr. Howard. We are going to First, let me do announcements, okay? Govern yourselves accordingly, all right? So you guys know the Heart Talks tour is well underway. Registration is open. London is showing out, okay? London is leading the pack right now. So if you are in the UK and you plan to come to Heart Talks, get your tickets. My shows are limited, so we don't do large shows. So I want you guys to get your tickets. Do not wait because London for sure is leading the pack right now. Pretoria is looking amazing. You guys, I cannot wait to come to South Africa. It's going to be it's going to be so much fun. And the planning has been interesting, interesting this year. But we are having fun putting all the details together. I can't wait for you guys to see the new merch that we have. I can't wait for you guys to see the actual format of the show. It'll be similar, but I've changed some things up. A lot more. I wanted to have a lot more interaction with the audience this year. So just get your tickets. It's going to be fun. It's going to be life changing. I can say with confidence, because I always say my work speaks for itself. The people say that they come to the show, and when you leave the show, you don't leave the same. Okay. So get your tickets, all right? I want to see you guys at Heart Talks. We will have, in fact, let me give you guys everybody's like, where do we register? Where do we register? Right there. There goes the link, the QR code. Oh, there it goes. The QR code is there. The website is hearttalkstour.com. You can go to brittainy.noel.com and get what you need, okay? But it's all there. Outside of that, we do have the Daily Fix. If you want to work with me, I get a lot of requests to do individual sessions. The only people who have access to my individual sessions are the people who are inside the Daily Fix. So if you do not have a Daily Fix membership, head over to brittainy.noel.com and become a part of the Patreon. When you join, you get access to all of my previous Heart Talk shows, but you also get access to over 200 videos of content where I am teaching. Okay. So, whatever you're struggling with right now, if it's emotions that you're trying to deal with, if it's grief, if it's sadness, if it's relationships, if you're trying to learn communication, if you're trying to understand yourself better, the daily fix is where you want to be, because not only do you have the information where I teach you certain concepts to understand yourself and everybody else around you better, but you also have myself and the community to hold you accountable. All right. We hold you accountable for change in my community. All right. In my community, we don't get to just talk about it. We got to talk about it and be about it. So if you're in a place where you know that you're ready to change some stuff in your life, join the daily fix. All right. Go to Brittainy Noel to get the link, thedailyfix.co, and I'll put the QR code up as we do our call. Okay. I think that's all of my announcements. I think that's all of my announcements. So let's hop in, okay? Because I feel like I haven't been live in a minute. Okay. Hey, Miss Cheryl, TDF in the building. I haven't been live in a minute. Okay. So I want to check in with y'all, see how you're doing. Okay. It's been a lot going on in the world. It's been a lot happening globally. So I want to check in with you guys. I'm going to start with the first question that I see in the chat, right? So put your questions for me in the chat. And remember, so if you've never done a live with me before, our lives, we come here to ask hard questions to get honest answers. All right. If you're just now following me, I am a licensed, oh, there we go. I am a licensed therapist from Houston, Texas. Lashai House. Okay. Thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. I'm going to be in Orlando. At the end of this month, I will be in Orlando at the Self Love Summit on March 28th. If you haven't, and Lashai, put the link in the comment box. If you haven't, if you can't make it to a Heart Talks and you know you live in Florida, because we're not going to Florida this year, you guys. I'm sorry. I know. Logistics. Don't blame it on me. We're not going to Florida. So if you know that you want to see me speak and you live somewhere in the Florida region, then make sure that you come to the Self Love Summit. I do believe that they still have some tickets available. It's at the end of this month, March 28th. Okay. I will be in Orlando. And then I think the weekend before that, I'm in North Carolina. Y'all see, I'm not good at announcements. The weekend before that, I'm in North Carolina, but that's a private event. So y'all can't come. But it's a private event. But I will be in North Carolina. Okay. We will be in Raleigh in September, I think. September, maybe. Double check the tour dates. But the Heart Talks tour is coming to Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, that concludes the announcements. I knew I was forgetting something. All right, perfect. So let me go back to my questions. Am I taking private clients? How do I become a client? So I only do individual sessions with my clients who are a part of the Daily Fix. So when you join the Daily Fix, someone asks, is it a monthly membership fee? It is a membership. And we do that to make therapy affordable, right? So you have different tiers and you can join according to what all you want access to. But yes, I do individual sessions. However, they're only for the people who are part of my morning membership, and that's the Daily Fix. You can scan the little QR code to get more information on the Daily Fix. All right, Teddy has a question. Teddy says on TikTok, how can a toxic couple part ways amicably? How can a toxic couple part ways nicely? How about that? Love just isn't enough. I agree with you, Teddy. Love is not enough to hold a relationship together. Love is not enough to hold a relationship together. Love is not enough to hold a relationship together. And most times, what we identify, especially in a toxic relationship, what we're identifying as love is not actually love, it's actually attachment. Attachment feels a lot like love, it looks a lot like love, but The primary difference to tell the difference between an attachment and true love is, while we do sacrifice for love and we do sacrifice ourselves for love, most times if it's a healthy connection, we don't have to sacrifice ourselves to detriment. I'm not going to have to, you know, kill parts of myself in order to have you. That's how you know that it's more of an unhealthy attachment than it is an actual love attachment. So, how do you part ways nicely? Truth, honesty, cold turkey, right? Think of it very much like, because the thing about a toxic relationship is that there's a lot of emotional reinforcement related to those relationships. So it's very much like a drug addiction. Okay, so we're gonna go to drugs really quickly. When I'm in a toxic relationship, the reason why we become addicted to the cycle of the toxic relationship is that we get used to the highs and the lows of the relationship, very much like how our brain gets used to the highs and the lows of the drug addiction. When I go into the relationship, I get my hit, I feel good, I get the dopamine, I get the oxytocin, everything feels good in my body, I feel wonderful, we have this release, wonderful, great. And then things go back down again, right? And then we separate, we say, we're done, I'm not doing this no more. And then we leave and we start to have withdrawals. Now, with the withdrawals are where you don't want to be by yourself. You go into your anxious attachment style. You go into your avoidance. And this is where the longer that we're apart, especially if it is a couple who have a lot of codependency factors, um, being apart can be just as triggering. Think of it as like, and I used to work in a hospital, right? So when we would have people detoxing off of alcohol, I think alcohol was one of the worst things that you can detox off of. When you detox off of alcohol, that first couple of weeks, your body is going through hell. Okay. And in a toxic relationship, when you first separate from them mentally and emotionally, you're going to go through hell because the withdrawal from that relationship, and this is why I say it doesn't even have to be love. Your body, your mind and your body just wants that relationship back. It wants the cycle back. And so while you're away, you're preoccupied with them. All you do is think about them, wondering about them, checking the Instagram, checking what they're doing. You are preoccupied with them because everything in you is saying go back. That's the cycle. The thing is you have to do it cold turkey. Cold turkey. Cold turkey. Right? So we want to break communication. We want to break any access that they may have. It's a little bit harder if there's children involved, but any access that you guys have to each other, you want to break those. Whether we have friends in common, family in common, we want to split those ties as well. Right? You want to make it as hard as possible to go back or re-engage with this person in the first 60 to 90 days. Right? So if I can make it 60 to 90 days, it doesn't mean that you're not going to care for them anymore. It doesn't mean that you're not going to think of them anymore. But what will have reset is what's going on in your brain. Yeah, y'all can't live together. Y'all got to move out. Right? So I would tell you to be clear, do it quickly, don't linger, be honest, even if the honesty hurts you or them. Be as honest as possible, do it quickly, and do it with support. This is where you want to get your family and friends on board to say, hey, I need your help. I really want you to think about this as if you were trying to get off drugs. You would need a support system. You would need a rehab. You would need go to a residential center if needed, right? That's how addicting toxic relationships can be, unfortunately. You're not going to really be able to do your own self work as far as how you got into that relationship until you're out of the relationship. It's very hard to do any growth or healing while you're still in the relationship. Okay. So, this is what I teach. Anytime we are trying to get out of something, the first priority is always safety, not physical safety for sure, because I don't know what type of girl she is. Physical safety. Okay, I watch a lot of what's that show? Fatal Attraction. I watch a lot of that. So yes, physical safety, mental safety, emotional safety. You have to get to safety before you can actually heal. Okay, so safety means removing myself. If you say she's crazy, get some other people involved. And the same advice we give women, right? When we tell women, if you're breaking up with a guy, it's not safe for you to break up with them one on one. Maybe you need to have that breakup conversation in a um, public environment to make sure that you're safe, right? So you do want to do it in a very planned way so that you're not harmed, your stuff is not harmed, and you can walk out of that situation without being triggered or being, harmed in any way. So do it smart, but do it quick, do it honestly. And when you do leave, when you leave the key, 60 to 90 days, no contact. And then go to therapy. All right. And then go to therapy, okay? Because we do not leave toxic relationships and then go into another relationship, right? We know that, right? Okay, we go to therapy, we have to unpack, we have to unload, we have to heal before we go back out into the world. Very good. Actively in therapy now. I love it. Okay, next question I see is on Instagram. Let's see. How to embrace being in a healthy relationship now after coming out of an abusive marriage. So the same thing, I would want to know how long ago was the marriage, right? And how much work have you done since the divorce? Okay. Time does not heal wounds. I know people say it. I know they put it on t-shirts. I know they, advertise it. Time heals all wounds. That is not true. Time When time passes by, I just learn how to cope with my wounds. I may learn how to deal with, how they feel, but to heal them, you have to actually do the work to heal them. So if I'm coming out of a unhealthy marriage, you know, the goal would be, before even thinking about being in another relationship, the goal has to be, what work do I need to heal within myself to where I am actually someone worth being with? Okay. Meaning, I need us to start looking at relationships as something that I have to be qualified for. I know there's no real qualifications out here. We don't have to fill out applications, so depending on who you date, maybe. But here's the thing: when I am dating people or allowing people into my life, you have to understand that whoever this person is, on some level, I'm taking responsibility for this person. Meaning that if I'm dating them, we're getting to know each other. I have the ability, especially if this is someone who's invested in me, I have the ability to hurt this person. I have the ability to affect this person's self-esteem. I have the ability to affect how this person sees themselves. I have the ability to affect if they have a good day or a bad day. I have a lot of power in their life. Can I handle that responsibly? Am I ready to handle that responsibly? That's a hard question that a lot of us don't ask enough. The question is not, am I ready for a relationship? When do I go back into? I go back into another relationship when I have proven to myself that I am someone who is ready and willing to handle a loving relationship with responsibility. I am someone who can be trusted with your heart. I am someone who can be trusted with your time. I am a good investment. Are you a good investment? Right? So when we go out into the world, and this is when you can stand on your boundaries, right? I stand on my boundaries, on my value and my worth, not because I think that I'm the best thing in the world, but because I have proven to myself I'm a good investment. I know that you can trust me with your heart. I know that you can trust me with your secrets. I know that you can trust me with your vulnerability. I have become someone who is a good investment. So in the time that you've been separated, what is the work that you've done on yourself to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm a good investment? Not perfect. I got my scars, but I know how to be responsible in another relationship. And I know how to choose my partners. I trust myself to choose my partners with wisdom and not emotion. Because that also goes into being responsible for a relationship. I think it's irresponsible to go into a relationship with someone that I don't think is actually capable of meeting my needs and then demanding that they meet the needs. Right? So those are things that you want to consider, right? Those are things that you want to consider before going into a relationship. It's not about how much time, it's about who have you become in this time? What have you healed in this time? How are you even ready for, do you have the skill set to be in a relationship in this time? Okay? That's what we're looking for. Very good. Very good questions. Y'all are asking some good questions tonight. Who has another question? Where my TDF people at? Y'all got? Do y'all have questions? Let me see. Very good. Hey says surprise live stream. I was going to go live last night, but I'm telling you, my computer just said we're not working today. Okay. How do we stick to our boundaries in relationships, and when is it enough? Okay. So, how do we stick to our boundaries in relationships, and when is it enough? So, boundaries, right? Many people use boundaries like rules and regulations for other people. Boundaries, first and foremost, are your own rules and regulations. Before I get to go tell the world how they can interact with me, I have to first have my own standard of how I move in this world. Everything is second. My boundaries for others is secondary to the boundaries that I have for myself. So when I enter into a relationship, what happens is, depending on the type of relationship that you're in, that relationship is going to always, the way that the situations work, it's always asking you one question. Can you still be who you are while being in this relationship? Right? So let's say my standard is, when I'm dating, I don't kiss on the first date. Cool. So we go out on the first date and he leans in for a kiss. While he's leaning in, the question becomes, will you be who you said you are? Right? This ain't got nothing to do with him. There's no boundary for him at this point. Right now, the only boundary is for you. Will you stay who you said you are? So whether you lean in or you lean away is a reflection of who you say you are, right? As the relationship progresses, there's going to be more situations that come up like that. And people aren't making these things happen. They're just living, right? But at the end of the day, you have to set a standard for how you move. And if I can still be me while being with you, right? Can I still be me and hold my standards, hold my integrity, hold my peace, hold my self love? Can I still be me while also being with you? That's the question that you're asking. When it comes to how other people interact with us and deal with us in relationships, how I know when enough is enough is when I can't be me and make you happy. That, my standard of intimacy doesn't make you happy. My standard of partnership doesn't make you happy. My standard of beauty doesn't make you happy. Whatever it is, you will know when it has crossed that line, when you can't be you anymore, right? If I'm in a relationship where I have to constantly set boundaries, that typically is letting me know that we are misaligned in a lot of different ways that matter. In relationships where I have to constantly set boundaries, that's like an alarm telling me that I'm with someone where our values and our belief systems are not in alignment. Case in point, if I am Christian and I get with someone who is an atheist, we're going to always and forever be butting heads when it comes to prayer or gospel music, or just I talk to God at least 4 or 5 times a day. So that's something that's going to come up daily for us, right? That's an obvious mismatch of values and beliefs, right? So if I have to constantly set boundaries like, hey, you can't talk about God like that, or hey, I need to pray over my food. If we have to constantly have this conversation time and time again, the conversation is letting you know we are misaligned in what we truly believe. Now, keep in mind, all right? Because this is just coming from doing couples counseling. Because I can hear you. Well, They said that they were on board. They said they believed the same thing I believe. They said they believed in God the way I believe in God. They said this and they said that's what they told me. When it comes to values and beliefs, I don't care what people tell you. Their behavior tells you what they actually believe. Their behavior always tells you what they actually believe. Because even themselves will say, hey, this is what I believe. This is how I'm a person of integrity. I'm a person of high value. I'm a person of trust and consistency, all of that stuff, right? They can say that. But if their behavior tells me that you're actually not consistent, you're actually not who I can lean on, you're actually not able to show up for me, I hear what you're saying, but your behavior is telling me something else. And then you have to decide if you want to believe what they say or what they do. That's up to you. All right. So the takeaway from that is focus on setting your boundaries for yourself before you set boundaries for others. The boundaries that I set for myself always dictates how I show up in relationships and how much I accept in relationships. If you were in the Daily Fix, okay, I'm going to point out the Daily Fix tribe again. If you were in the Daily Fix, first of all, we're talking about relationships the whole month of March. So you may want to go ahead and join, okay? But we talk about the difference between, being flexible in relationships and tolerating relationships, okay? It's one thing to be flexible and make concessions. It's another thing to tolerate an unhealthy or unfulfilling relationship, okay? So ask yourself those hard questions. All right. Very good. Very good. Okay. I saw a question on Instagram. Let me go back to Instagram. Many Event says, what do you have any ideas to recommend for exit strategies? I'm assuming you were talking about relationships because what we talked about earlier. Actually have a whole video in the Daily Fix called How to Break Up Better. How do we actually break up? Because listen, okay, so for everyone who y'all just y'all don't know me as well. Daily Fix, y'all know me. I am someone who believes in clean breakups. I am someone who believes that once it's done, it's done. We don't do a lot of back and forth when it's the queen of detachment, okay? Queen of detachment. And I wasn't born that way. I had to learn. I had to learn how to detach in a healthy way. I had to learn how to detach in ways that I could be proud of myself and not ashamed or embarrassed of myself. I had to learn how to detach and deal with the discomfort of, oh my gosh, I love them. I want to go back. Oh my God, I think of them every day, right? And to feel all of that and still say, but I'm not going to call and I'm not going to text. I wish them all the best, but they can't be around me, right? So I actually made a video on the Daily Fix. It's called How to Break Up Better. So when you join the Daily Fix, you can watch that video and you'll get all my strategies on how to actually break up in a safe way, but also how to break up in a way that leaves, I'm telling you, close all doors. I don't believe in the revolving door. Mm-mm. Because with a revolving door, you can't heal properly, right? With the revolving door, it's like you heal to a certain extent and then you put it on hold because I don't want to heal all the way because what if they come back? And what if it's just not the right time? Like what if we can do better like a year from now? Like maybe once they get their stuff together. Hey, we're not waiting on maybes over here. Close the door. Close the door. Is that what the preacher say? Close the doors. That's how I operate, okay? So yes, go watch that video in the Daily Fix. Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay, I missed a question. Having support is always encouraged when doing the work, but what advice would you give to no one with support? Mom and spouse passed 5 years ago, and now breaking off a toxic relationship and navigating a career change. That's isolating. It's very isolating. And I think that one, you're not in a bad position. Okay. You're going to collect your people one by one. I always talk about get my book Made for This. It's on Amazon. I never remember to bring a book with me when I go live. I talked years ago when I was learning, right, detachment, or I would say when I was making my huge transition from being unaware of my patterns, my, downfalls, all of that, to from being unaware to now self-aware. We'll just call it the Great Awakening. Okay. So when I had my Great Awakening, I had just moved to Houston. I was leaving a long-term relationship where we were cohabitating, right? So we were living together, and when I left, literally, I left with like bags of clothes and whatever I couldn't carry with me, I put in a storage. I didn't know anyone in Houston, so I had a coworker who let me come and sleep on her couch. And when I tell you that was the most Oh, and I had fallen out with my entire family. Like, and this is why I say that God orchestrates certain things because the fallout was just so unnecessary. And I was like, I just said, hey, I'm done talking to all y'all. So I just stopped talking to everybody in my family. So I had no family support. I'm in a city where I don't know anyone. I was in school. I was in graduate school and I didn't want to drop out, but I didn't have a lot of options either. And I didn't know anyone. So I'm just like, when you talk about gutter, I was mentally and emotionally, well, I was feeling real bad. I was feeling mighty low. Okay. That was the Great Awakening, right? And it was worse because I was self aware enough to where I knew I couldn't blame everybody else. Like, that's the hard part because it's one thing for life to fall apart and you can point fingers. It's another when life falls apart and you're self aware enough that you know you kind of did this though. Like, this is kind of on you, right? And so I was just emotionally in a pit, right? And I started um we can talk about the number of miracles that happened in that time frame to where I was eventually able to get in my own apartment. Um like the doors that started opening for me. And this is why I say, and this is the divine part of what I do. When you know it's time to leave, okay? It's not easy, right? I have learned that no matter what I have to leave, that there's always something better. Like in that season, I was detaching from a relationship that I thought I was gonna marry this. That was our plan to get married, right? And I would have never thought that it was gonna go the other way. But the minute that I walked out of that house, the number of doors that started to open for me to where I could be self-sufficient and I wasn't depending on him, or my career, like things that started happening in my career years later happened, like the seeds were planted that year that I left, right? So leaving, while it felt devastating, it was also opening me up to for the next chapter of my life without me even knowing it. In that same year is when I met my best friend, right? So I remember I told her I prayed for her because I was so lonely because I had no family, had no friends. I'm in a city by myself. And I prayed to God. I was like, God, like, can I just have a friend? Like, I've lost everything. Can I just have a friend? And I met my best friend in graduate school, right? And to this day, I have chosen family, right? So I will tell you that in this season of isolation, don't be so discouraged. Understand that this season of isolation is temporary, that in this season, sometimes the loneliness is necessary because I needed the loneliness because I didn't need extra people in my ear. In that season, I needed to be by myself because I had a lot of self reflection that I needed to do. And I didn't need nobody making me feel better about where I was. Okay. It was just me and God, like, hey, this is what you did. This is why you did it. Okay. And hey, you you made some bad decisions, but let's talk about why you made the bad decision so that you don't repeat it again. So it's going to be a lonely season. What I will tell you though, don't go back to what hurt you. Don't go back to what's familiar, and embrace new people who want to love on you. You may not know why they want to support you. In that season, I had so many people show up for me that it may have just been one encounter, but I had people show up for me in ways that I didn't ask for, I didn't anticipate, but they showed up to give. Pay attention to the people who are showing up just to give to you in this season. All right, because that's where your protection, your provision is. But loneliness, learn to sit with it. It's okay. It's not going to break you. Learn to sit with it. And when it's time for you to meet your divine people, you will meet them. Okay? Okay. And in the meantime, in between time, you can join the Daily Fix if you want a community, because we do have an amazing community in the Daily Fix. Very good. Very good. Very good. She said break up with him. Okay. Okay. Let me see another question. And don't let me forget the journal prompt for tonight. Okay, very good question. On TikTok, how to deal with disappointment and resentment in a marriage, financial and emotionally unsafe. Okay, very good. So, first and foremost, there is no marriage that makes it out without disappointment and resentment. I think that people have to be prepared that being married, committing to a marriage, while I love and care for them, I am committing myself to a very flawed human being, right? And because we are human, we are wired to disappoint the people closest to us. At some point, your wife will disappoint you. At some point, your husband will disappoint you. At some point, the kids are going to disappoint you. People are disappointing. Right? So this is why they say there's no marriage that survives unless you understand how to forgive. All right. That means that because you said financially and emotionally unsafe. So if things have happened in the marriage, if I make it easy, right? If I make it plain, number one, there has to be full recognition of what happened on both parts. So whoever failed who, and many times we failed each other, right? We have to both fully recognize where we failed the marriage. Hear me. I said where we failed the marriage because marriage is a partnership. It is not a one person game. That means that when we said I do, we were committing to building this thing like a house. And I had my duties, they had their duties. Most times when there's a breakdown, it's not just one person who failed at the duties. On some level, we both failed. Even if my failure was just that, you know what? They were drowning and I didn't recognize it. And that was my failure. They were struggling and I didn't offer help. That was my failure. So it doesn't mean that you have to go out and do this huge betrayal, but sometimes my lack of awareness could be a failure. Sometimes my lack of empathy could be a failure, whatever it is, right? So we have to first, both parties have to fully acknowledge where did we fail the marriage? Because the marriage itself is like a plant. And in order for it to grow, we have to both be putting in on this plant sunshine, water, nutrients, all of that. So, where do we both fail the marriage? There has to be a full account. After the full account of what was wrong and what did wrong, and how we feel about what went wrong. And depending on the people in the marriage, it's not just what we feel about what went wrong, but what did what went wrong trigger? That wording sounds crazy. So, because of what went wrong, what did it trigger? For example, you said financial safety is an issue. If I grew up in poverty and my partner did something that cost us a whole lot of money, that could trigger my financial wound. And I could react to them in a very fearful and scary way because it's not just what they did that lost the money, it's the fact that you now triggered a wound that I had from childhood. Does that make sense? So when our partners disappoint us, sometimes the intensity of our response is not just about what happened in the marriage, it's also about what happened prior to the marriage. All right. So, full amends, Talk about what we have to own our part in what happened, own how it affected us, and how it triggered our past or our past wounds, right? After the full amends have taken place on both parts, now we start working towards reconciliation. What do we need to do to fix this, right? What does fixing it look like, right? So in order for you to trust me financially, do we need to share bank information? Do we need to have a financial meeting, once a month? What does reconciliation actually look like for us both? Because when it comes to disappointment and resentment, we have to rebuild trust. Rebuild trust, rebuild trust, rebuild trust. To rebuild trust, that is an act. So I know a lot of people say, well, we're working on building trust with each other. If you can't tie building trust to behaviors, then you're not building trust. You're just letting time go by. So, what behaviors are we participating in that's going to help build trust? So, that's the reconciliation. After reconciliation, time is going to go by where we're both doing behaviors that build trust. Once trust is built, now we talk about forgiveness. I know. I know. Y'all thought forgiveness came first, didn't you? I know. No, you thought forgiveness came first. There are very few people who can have the conversation about forgiveness in their marriage or relationships without evidence to back it up, right? If we would have started talking about forgiveness when the wound is fresh, I have too much evidence of hurt and betrayal that would get in the way of me forgiving you. So the reason why we eventually get back to forgiveness is because there has to be, think of it like uh I always take everything back to like the hospital setting. If I had a wound, if I had a cut, right? When I go into the hospital, if I got a cut, the doctor doesn't say, flex your arm, move it around. You gotta, that's good for rehab. And no, he starts with, let me stop the bleeding, let me wrap it, let me get you some antibiotics. He has to treat the wound before he focuses on the function of my arm. He has to treat the wound before he focuses on the function. So when a relationship has gone through anything that disrupts it, we have to treat the disruption before we can focus on the function of it. So treating the disruption is identifying what the wound is, what was occurred because of the wound, how did the wound affect who, what, when, where, and why, and then we get to the reconciliation. How are we going to fix this? We start building evidence, right? Doing the new behavior builds evidence. We build that evidence, and then we get to forgiveness. Forgiveness is because forgiveness is something that I have to choose to do every day. Okay, you got to wake up every day and say, I forgive you. You have to wake up every day and say, I forgive you. Wake up every day and say, I forgive you. It's easier to forgive your spouse when you have evidence of new behavior or change behavior. So I would tell you to focus on that first part that we talked about. Identify what the wound is, on both parts. How did we both fail the marriage? And how did it affect both of us? If we can just get through that part, then move on to reconciliation. But first we have to identify what the rupture was, how it affects both, because it didn't affect just one, it affects both. How did it affect us both? And be honest. Okay? How am I feeling? Can you rebuild trust after emotionally cheating? You can, but it's a choice. It's possible, but it's a choice. And to rebuild trust after an emotional cheating in any relationship, whether a man did it or a woman did it, the reason why it either works or doesn't work is dependent upon the emotional maturity of both individuals. To repair after cheating, there is a certain level of emotional maturity that must be present, and emotional intelligence that must be present, and everybody doesn't have that. So it would depend on both you and your partner where you guys are on that spectrum of being emotionally mature. If you're emotionally immature, healing after infidelity is going to be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Okay, very good. How can I learn to forgive my mom truly? I haven't had a conversation with her in almost 5 years. That's a hard one. Okay. In the chat, tell me who is struggling with parental relationships. We can go down that road real quick. Okay. Who has issues with their mother or father? Who has issues with mommy and daddy? Yes, my lives go up on my YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it when we finish on my YouTube. Okay, I see me. Hands up. Okay. Okay, yeah. And right now the hot conversation, codependency is a big one. The hot conversation is about yeah, not anymore. Very good. Me too. Daddy issues. Yeah. Parental wounds are the final parental wounds, the reason why they're so hard to sometimes treat is because, again, parental wounds are very much like a relationship. If only one person is trying to heal the relationship, it doesn't work, right? Um, I would tell you. So, and here's the thing. I think the biggest thing, especially in our generation where I'm a millennial, we were the first generations to have the amount of information that we have to make new decisions, right? So we have to look at our parents and have empathy for the fact that they maybe didn't have as much resources, they probably didn't have as much support, they probably didn't have, as much insight as we have to make new decisions about how we want to live our lives. So I can look at my parents and have compassion and have empathy, but also look at the damage that was caused to myself, right? So I always say, because you can have a great parent, and even the greatest parents can cause harm unknowingly, right? Or on accident. So to be a good parent doesn't mean that you never cause harm. And I don't think that most grown adults these days are asking for our parents to be perfect. I think that we're asking for the recognition that yes, you gave your best and your best wasn't enough. And for some people, you didn't even give your best. You didn't even try. Nowhere near the best, right? So sometimes what we want from our parents is something that we are never going to get. And that's something that we have to accept. Now, does that mean that I can't have a relationship with them? No. And this is where we have to do our own work. Sometimes what gets in the way of us having some type of relationship with our parent is the fact that we are waiting for them to become the parent that we didn't get. We're waiting for them to take responsibility. We're waiting for them to say sorry. We're waiting for them to acknowledge the hurt. And so, because I'm waiting for them to do something that they don't have the skill set to do, I then will say, I don't want to deal with you anymore. Which is, if you make that decision, I support you. Okay. If you make that decision, I support you. Because I don't think there's a right or wrong way to deal with it. But what I will say is this: if it is truly your desire to have a relationship with that parent, it means that you have to adjust what your expectations are of them. And sometimes the minimum expectation is, I would like to be in relationship with you in a way that you can't harm me. So that means that we can be in relationship, but we probably won't be as close simply because you're not someone who's safe enough to have close to me. So we can, have the family get-togethers. We can invite her to the cookout, but we don't talk about certain things because I can't trust you with those pieces of me, right? So you have to decide for yourself with who they are, if they make no changes, with who they are, what type of relationship do I want to have with them for you, right? And it's not the type that you should have. What type can I actually have with them, right? And then that's what you have to accept. I have to work on accepting that I may not have the closeness that I wanted with my mother. I may not have, the type of relationship that I see with other people. And that could be something that you grieve for a very long time. But you have to accept the reality of who they are so that you can determine what type of relationship you would like to have with them. Right. So I don't think that, when people, I have no issues with no contact. If you feel no contact is right for you, do it. Right. But if there is something in you that wants something or some type of relationship, honor it. But you have to honor it with the truth. Do you want to be connected with who they actually are, or do you want to be connected with a fantasy version of who they are? Okay. Because many times when especially if you've been out of connection with them for 5 years, the desire to be reconnected is probably coming from, I want a mom, but I don't want my mom. I would like a mother figure. I just don't want my mama because she out there, right? How long does that grief last? Forever. Forever. Right? And it shows up in different ways. It's because, listen, I know I told you I'm the queen of detachment. Grief shows up in different ways. If I'm grieving my mother, because you have to keep in mind, I'm grieving the mother I wanted them to be. I'm grieving the father I wanted them to be. Right. So the grief that you have is for the little kid in you who didn't get a nurturer or had to grow up too soon. Right. That was always my grief. My grief was that Brittany's childhood got cut short because she had to grow up quickly. So we'll forever carry the grief of, dang, like when they were planning. I remember when I was in high school and everybody's like planning, homecoming and, you know, I was like, I got to get a job because I got to pay bills. I got to make sure the light is on, like water, right? I grew up very quickly. So I will always grieve the childhood that didn't happen. And this is why, as an adult, I'm very playful and I take every chance to laugh and to have joy because that's how I reclaim what I had to give up early, right? So you will always grieve it, but the grief doesn't have to run you, it doesn't have to ruin your day. I can acknowledge, dang, that sucks that that happened. But now I'm creating the life that honors me, right? So you have to decide for yourself, for the parent that they are, what type of relationship do I want to have with them? And I'm not asking them to change anymore. All right. You got to stop asking them to change with who they are. Okay. And some of you are blessed with parents who actually will make changes. Okay. Some of you are blessed with parents that are like, hey, I now realize I saw the most beautiful video of a father who was talking about how he raised his kids and he was unaware at the time. He was like, this is just how I thought I had to raise my kids. And he's like, now that I'm older and I'm reading and I'm learning different things, like I see how I wasn't emotionally available. And he's acknowledging who he was, he's acknowledging the harm. And for a lot of our parents, they don't know how to sit with, I did the best I could, and there were some gaps. They don't know how to allow those two truths to live together. And so they go into ego protection. And this is where the defense comes from. And this is why they conveniently forget everything that happened. They conveniently forget things that took place, right? It's not that they don't want to recognize it, their ego won't allow them to. Because if they did recognize it, they would. It's like when I told you earlier, when I went from being unaware to fully aware, that is a rude awakening. Okay, that is a rude awakening. It don't feel good at all, right? So many of our parents don't want that, and I don't blame them, right? But I get to choose how I want to be in relationship with them, and that's your power. You get to make that choice. Okay. Very good questions. Very good questions. Very good questions. How we feeling, y'all? How we feeling? Feeling good? Feeling great? Okay. I'm gonna give you guys a tool for continued mental and emotional growth. What I love about what I do is we ask the hard questions, right? I created the Heart Talks journal because this is the way I wanted you guys to be able to do your work when you're not in a therapy session, do your work when you're not at Heart Talks, do your work when I'm not live. So, how do you continue to ask yourself the hard questions to get down to the root of what's going on with you? That's what this journal is for. I'm going to put the link up. It's on the Heart Talks Tour website. Um, there we go. I'll do that one. But if you go to that QR code, it'll take you directly to it. It's over 200 journal prompts where I am asking you guys some very hard questions. And the questions are meant to make you uncomfortable. Because if you're comfortable, you're not growing. If you're comfortable, you're not growing, right? So this journal was meant to challenge you. Okay. It covers every area of your life where you will basically examine every area of your life. And the biggest thing is that it focuses on you. I know we want to focus on the rest of the world and who did what and who said what, but I promise you, understanding why other people are the way they are won't make you better. I have to understand why I am the way I am so that I can choose how I want to show up in the world. So I want to encourage you guys to get the journal. I'm going to give you guys a prompt tonight, but get the journal. I want to say about 100 left that we are trying to get rid of because the new merch is getting ready to come in. Okay, we got new merch on the way for the 2026 tour. So I'm going to give you guys. Oh, Katrina, the affirmations. I do have affirmations. When people always say, "Oh, I wish I could just hear your voice," I actually do have affirmations recorded that I never tell the world about. So if you go, if you go to, I'm going to become a better marketer one day. If you go here you can get the affirmations, and the affirmations are titled Listen to This Win. So if you're having a bad day, or if you're doubting yourself, or if you're afraid, or if it's time to love again, or if it's time to let go, I have different affirmations that you can listen to, and I'll tell you something very nice and encouraging to help you make that decision. Okay? So let's get to the journal prompts. Okay. I opened to page 217. This is the gratitude section of the book. Will you bring back the journal for Heart Talks? Not this journal. No, this journal is done. We will not bring this journal back. This journal is heavy. It weighs like 8 pounds. And I didn't think about that when I made it. I just wanted to make something nice. And I realized logistically it is complicated to get it out to people. So the journal prompt that you guys will have for tonight, and listen, do this just to do it, okay? That means I want you guys to actually journal about this, either tonight before you go to bed, wherever you are in the world, if it's the morning time, I want you to journal about it, okay? And then tag me in your story so I know you did it. All right, it's about 200 of y'all over here, I better get tagged in 100 stories. Okay, so here's the journal prompt. It's the gratitude section of the book. Page 217. What's something I used to take for granted, but now appreciate in a different way? What's something I used to take for granted, but now appreciate in a different way? Y'all want to hear a story? You know what? I am going to tell this story so I can edit it later. Okay. So that's the journal prompt, but I'm going to tell y'all what I'm grateful for. One, I'm alive. Okay. And that's not even like exaggerating. So I went on vacation last week, and I have a history of doing crazy stuff on vacation. And I remember I was on a boat, and we were supposed to jump in the water and go, snorkel and everything else like that. And I haven't done this in a very long time. I haven't done it in a long time. And so we were on the boat, and the guide goes, okay, he said, only jump in the water if you are, he said, only jump in the water if you can swim really well. And I've been swimming my whole life. I was like, I can swim. And so he looks at me, he goes, ma'am, only jump in the water if you can really swim. And I'm like, good swimmer. Yes, I can swim. He's like, the waves are really choppy today. So only jump in the water. Like he repeated himself. I said, sir, I'm fine. Put on my life jacket. Right. And I went and jumped in the water. I was in the water for maybe 60 seconds. And I realized this was a bad decision. It was that moment, okay, that you were like, and this is the moment where she realized that she had messed up, right? So I jumped in the water and I'm like, oh, I don't think because we had the swim that we had to make was like a 20-minute swim, and the waves were beating me down, like left and right, okay? And I was like, I don't think I can do this. So I turned around to the boat. And as I turned back around to go back to the boat drove off. Okay, the boat is gone. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember panic started to set in, right? So I started to get a little, my anxiety went up, and I was like, oh, because I'm like, I really don't think I can make this swim. And it was like maybe five of us that were in the water. So it wasn't even a lot of us in the water. Okay. And I'm like, okay, you can do this. You can do this. And the whole 20 minutes that I'm swimming, like, and it's hard, like I'm running out of breath, I'm getting tired. My anxiety is going up and down, up and down. And as it goes up, I'll take deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths. You're fine, you're safe, you're fine, you're safe, you're fine, you're safe. And if you ain't safe, I mean, it's time to go to glory. Who knows? Right? Who knows? And so eventually, I go through the whole thing, and the tour guide, he's like, "Oh, aren't you having fun?" And I'm like, No, no, yes, no, no, yes." And I'm like, "Just get back to the boat. Just get back to the boat." By the time we get back to the boat, right, get out the water, get back on the boat. And one of the people who did not get in the water was like, "Dang, how was it?" And I was like, "It was really hard, but I'm really happy I did it." Okay. I was like, it was really hard. And I told her, I was like, I can do hard things, right? And I'm always deep, right? To her, that interaction meant anything. But I was speaking to her, but I was also speaking to myself. I can do hard things, right? And right now in my life, I needed that reminder because pulling a tour off is not easy. It's not easy in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And sometimes I have to be reminded that I can do hard things. And what was phenomenal about that whole situation is that that's how life works. We get into situations, we take a risk. Taking a risk was jumping into the water when he told me 3 times, "Ma'am, are you sure?" Jumped in the water anyway because I'm high on self-belief, right? And we get into these situations where we think we're not good enough, we think we're not strong enough, we think we don't have the resources, we think we don't have the support, and it feels like doom and dread. And then eventually, if you just keep swimming and keep paddling, I promise you, you get back to the boat. You get back to the boat, right? So, and this happened in a span of 30 minutes. In a span of 30 minutes, you can go from completely doubting yourself to completely excelling in what it is that you doubted yourself in. So, the thing that I'm grateful for, right? The thing that I used to take for granted is I didn't realize it was years before I realized how tenacious I was. It was years before I realized that one of my superpowers was perseverance. One of my superpowers, there's this thing. Okay, when I was a kid, my older brother, almost got a concussion because he told me I couldn't do something. And so I was hell bent on proving to him that I could. Again, don't do it. right? But I wanted to prove to him that I wasn't, the annoying little sister. And so I did the thing, and I was like, yeah, 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 now look at me, right? And I have this thing where anytime I feel like my back is against the wall, I promise you, put your money on me. I'm going to come out. I'm going to come out on the other side. I'm going to come out on the other side. Right. And that's something that I learned not to take for granted. That's something that I didn't know was a superpower, because for the longest I thought it was just survival. But when you can be in a season of thriving, in a good season in my life, and I can still activate that perseverance, I can still activate that tenacity, because that's who I am. I didn't survive because I had to. I survived because I could. Okay? I need y'all to hear that. Whatever you went through in your life, you didn't survive because you didn't have any other option. You always had an option to quit. You always had an option to tap out. You always had an option to go back. But you didn't, because that's not who you were. That's not who you were. You were always a winner. You were always the one who persevered. You were always the strong one. You were always the smart one. You were always the charismatic one. It was always in you. And I've learned not to cheapen my gifts. I've learned not to cheapen who I am and my identity by saying that I was just that because I had to survive. I survived because I was that. That's why I survived. Okay? So if you have the journal, go get it. Okay. Page 217 is the gratitude section. That's where this journal prompt came from. I want you guys to do your own journal prompt. What are you grateful for now, that for something that you used to take for granted, for something that you thought came easy and you thought everybody could do it? But no, you do it the way you do it because of who you are, right? So that's what I have for you guys. I'm going to be in Orlando March 28th. I'm going to be in North Carolina the 22nd. And then, listen, the tour is here. Oh, here, let me give y'all the code for the journal. I'm sorry, I took it off. Uh, the tour is here. I'm picking out outfits. Okay, when I come to Africa, I already know y'all be dressing, so I already know that I got to get my stuff together. Okay, here's the QR code for the journal. You can always go to the Heart Talks Tour website to get it as well. But I cannot wait to see you guys on tour. I love seeing you guys in person. I can't wait. I can't wait. And I think that because of how challenging this year has been, I think that it all points towards this is probably going to be the most impactful tour that we've done so far. So I'm excited. I'm excited, y'all. All right. I want y'all to have an amazing night. Get some rest. If you're in Africa or the other side of the continent and this is your morning time, good morning. Okay, I want you to have a hot cup of coffee, a hot cup of tea. To everybody else, to the Daily Fix, I will see you guys in the morning. To everybody else, have a wonderful night. Do something that feels good to you. Be around people that you love. And for everybody who asked a hard question tonight, make a decision. Make a decision. You don't have to do anything about it tonight, but I want you to make a decision based on the new information that you have learned. So, based on what you learned tonight, what is the new decision that you want to make? All right. That's how you get the change. I absorb information, and based on that information, I now have to move. What is the new decision? What is the new decision? Okay. All right, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all go. Have a wonderful night, and I will be back live next week. And this live will be up on my Instagram, on my YouTube page in the next 60 seconds. All right. Have a wonderful night. Good night.